Ladies and gentlemen, this month, the month of May, marks the 4-year anniversary of me closing my very first real estate transaction, my very first wholesale deal. And I thought it would be fitting that for this video, for this podcast, we're just going to talk about the very first OG deal that I did back in May 15th, 2020. So sit back, relax, and I'm just going to take it all the way back. We're going to start all the way from the beginning of my journey, and we're going to take it to the point where I had closed my very first deal. So I pretty much I started back in December 8th, 2019. That was the officially the first day that I actually put action towards wholesaling. And what I did was, well, before I get to what I do, let me just give some context for where I was in my life at this point. So at this point in my life, December 8th, 2019, I was living outside the country at the time. I was living in the Middle East. I wasn't in the States. I was 18 years old. I did not have a computer. I had barely any money, and the only way I could communicate with the world was a cracked iPhone. Not as cool as this one, but it was like a cracked iPhone from like 5 years ago at that time. So probably a 10-year-old iPhone at this point. So I wasn't working with the best equipment, but you know what? The young man was determined to get it done. So what did we do? All right. So I've been researching wholesaling for a long time before I really got started. I think I did like maybe months and months of research, maybe 4 or 5 months of research before I really even made my first call. And so what I first did was I did what the gurus at the time would tell you to do. Right. I went on this website and bought a list. I bought a list of properties. The list that I bought was about, I'd say like 200 or so records of out of state absentee owners, right? Out of state absentee owners with high equity. And it was a list of about 200 people in my area. And the first thing I did with that list, and this is something that I'm glad that I haven't ran into somebody else that did this because it was just a big mistake that I did it. Was I instead of calling it first, like what you would usually do, you skip trace it, you call your list. What I did is I comped every single property before making a single call. So there was a list of 200 addresses, right? And by the way, I'm 18 years old. I haven't even comped a property yet, right? I think I maybe did some practice stuff, but nothing for real that I was going to offer on. I had to comp all these houses, right? Because in my head, I thought, okay, once I get these people on the phone, they want to hear a number, right? It's not like I can just call and not have a number prepared to offer them, or else I'm just gonna be wasting their time. So I did. That's what I did. I comped every single address, all 200 properties, before I made a single call. That took me the whole day. That took me the whole freaking day. But the next day, I was ready to go. I was ready to go. Your boy was ready. I was using a Skype number on my phone. I was ready to go. It was midnight where I was at. It was midnight. So I had to call in American Eastern time, but it was midnight where I was at. So I I made my first call and made my first couple calls. In the beginning, it was scary, sure, but we ended up keeping consistent for the time being, and I'll jump to a couple weeks later. In combination with cold calling, what I was also doing was I was just going around and like going on like Facebook groups, going on Craigslist, going on Marketplace, going on to all these free sources to try to find opportunity. And I stumbled across a property on, I believe it was Craigslist. Yeah, it was Craigslist. It was a lady. She was selling her house by owner on Craigslist, and I called her up. We had a couple good conversations, and I believe the next day, if it was the next day, I got it under contract. So I got my very first deal under contract in like 2 weeks. So I was ecstatic. I was like, man, this is legit. This is what's up. I'm about to make like, I don't know, I think I was trying to make like 7 grand on the deal. Trying to wholesale for like 7 grand. And so at the time, at the same time that I was calling, I was actually building up my buyers list as well. So I had my buyers list. I had a couple of buyers that I knew that were buying, and sent it out. I sent it out to them. Got nothing back. All right. Long story short, I locked up the deal too high. And I didn't market the deal properly. I'd have pictures of the property. Like I was just like run and gun, right? And, this was not, there was no systems. There was really no structure to what I was doing. I had no mentor. I just heard about wholesaling. I love the concept, so I just started doing it. And it led me to this point where I had this deal and I couldn't sell it. Long story short, I got an offer. I had to renegotiate price with the seller. Didn't go through. Deal fell through. Right. I was shot. Right. I was hurt. I was hurt. But I didn't give up. I the next week I was looking through Craigslist again, and as I was calling, of course, and found another guy. Now, this guy is actually a guy that I'm still friends with to this day. Funny enough, but he had a house. And same story. We had a couple good conversations, and I ended up getting the house under contract. So I got my second shot at it, and man, I was ready to go. I was like, okay, I learned from my last mistakes from the last time, my mistakes from last time, and I'm ready to go this time. I know what to do. I know how to get this done. Let's go get this done. So I went and I just absolutely hustled to get this deal to the finish line. I was doing everything I could, right? I was reaching out to my buyers list. I was putting a deal out on Facebook groups. I was calling up real estate agents. I was doing really anything you could do to sell a deal. And long story short, it took me a while. I ended up locking it a little bit higher than I ideally should have. But I think but I was still within, it was still within margin to where I got the house sold. I disposed of the deal, and I was so freaking excited, right? Because now I went from just starting out calling and not to being able to get a contract, but it fell through, and then I got a contract and an assignment contract along with it. So I am super pumped. All right, I was gonna make $4,000 on the deal, which if you're 18 years old, you're making $4,000. I mean, you're gonna feel like a millionaire. All right, you're just gonna feel like you're super rich. So that's how I was feeling. I was like, man, I've got it made. I've got it made. And so I got the assignment done, and it was a long escrow period. The guy wanted to close in 30 days, and um, there were some issues that we came across as we were getting this deal to the closing table. Right, this buyer was from out of state. I think it was maybe his first time buying, or maybe his first time buying, at least in our city. And I got him. Long story short, he had called me. Um, I believe the week we were going to close, the week we were scheduled to close, he had given me a call back, and he said, "Hey, listen, man, I'm not doing the deal anymore." Right? He just gave me a whole bunch of excuses, and he said, "Hey, man, I'm not doing this deal anymore." And that completely 180 my situation, right? Because I was going to close my very first deal, and now I didn't have a deal. I didn't have a deal anymore. And so it was a really tough conversation to have with the buyer. It was a tough conversation to have with the seller, but the seller was actually a local investor here, and we're actually still good friends to this day. Um, so that was at least a positive that I got out of that situation. And so that was and so we started in December. Right now we're in about February, right? I didn't close my first deal until May. So that from February till May, it was just straight, just calling, doing what I can, doing what I was taught on like YouTube, pretty much, to find opportunities. And I was doing that. I was doing the things. I was calling. I was, doing the same things I was doing, like looking on like Facebook and Craigslist and all of these things. And then all of a sudden, as I was calling, I was looking on Facebook, and I saw another person that I'm still friends with to this day. Shout out to you. If you're watching this, you probably know who you are. Um, she had a deal up on Facebook for a house, and I reached out to her. I said, "Hey, can I help you with finding a buyer for this deal?" And because I knew the area, I know the area was a really hot area for investors to buy in. So I knew that, hey, if I can get this, I can have it sold, right? And me and her were just joint venture. So I reached out to her regarding that. She said yes. All right, but she needed to close quick. She needed to close in like 2 weeks because she had 2 weeks left on her contract. So I was like, okay, let's do this. I got my second chance. I got my third chance actually, and they say third time's a charm, right? Well, I got it and sent it out to my people, to my buyers, and I got a buyer. Went to go see it. He was ready to go. So I got a buyer that was interested and ready to close on this deal. And talking with the wholesaler that had the deal, I told her about the buyer. She saw the buyer's information on the assignment. She was like, "Huh, this is actually the same guy that was going to buy it from me, but for some reason he was just I forget the exact situation, I'll be honest, but apparently this buyer was going to be buying it from her, but then decided not to. And then when I sent it to him, he's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll buy it. Just one of those things. So yeah, it was kind of a strike of luck, honestly, that I was able to even sell to that buyer. But the day was May 15th. That was the day of closing for that property, and we got it done. We got it closed. It was my very, very first deal. And man, I was so pumped. I was so pumped. I remember the day of close, I probably called the title company like 5 times. It's like, hey, are we closed yet? Hey, are we funded yet? What's going on? Like I was doing everything I could to make sure, like, hey, like this is my third shot at this. I need to get this done, or I need to find another avenue. All right. So um, we got it done. We got it done. And the next month later, I closed my second deal right in the next month for another $5,500. So the first deal I closed, it was a JV, right? I couldn't get 50-50 because of the situation with the buyer being a past, having past interest in with her. I think I only walked away with like $1,250, right? By the way, if you're doing your first deal, I don't care how much money you make, right? The feeling is going to be the exact same. You can make $1,000, you can make $100,000. The feeling is still going to be the same. Just the feeling of you doing your very first wholesale deal is just you can't compare it to anything else. I mean, it is just the ultimate level of you feeling just achieved, and it's just such an incredible feeling. And then the next month I was able to close my second deal for 5,500, and from then on, we kept mowing along from there. But I really again just want to shine a light on the what it feels like during that process, and just and how it feels like after you've closed it, because when you first get started, right, the reason why you want to get your first deal, of course there's the monetary aspect of it, right? You want to make money, right? I think that's pretty clear. But I think on a deeper level, doing that first deal is also proof of concept. It's this thing is, because you always have this thought in the back of your head when you're doing this, like, hey, is this thing even real? Like I see people doing this, but whenever I call somebody, they tell me to F off, or they say not interested, or they say that they want way too much money for it to even work. Or I may have somebody that's motivated, but they just don't want to move, they just don't answer my phone. Whatever the case may be, right? Do we have these things that happen, as we're getting started? But that first deal is it serves a purpose of proof of concept that this is not a fairy tale. Wholesaling is legit. It is extremely legit, and it is possible. It is truly possible. And that's what my first deal did for me. It just showed me that, like, wow, like this is actually possible. Like I just made pretty much 6,000, almost $7,000 in the span of a month and a half, and I didn't have to go to college. I didn't have to go and apply for a job or a W-2. I didn't have to get a college degree. I didn't have to work at a boring office all day. By the way, guys, this was May 2020. So for anybody that understands what was going on during that time, this was COVID, right? Nobody was leaving their house. So wow, I just made $7,000 during COVID, in the middle of COVID, right? This is the middle of lockdowns, right? School was still out for people. People were still out of work, right? Everybody was trying to make an OnlyFans to pay their bills, right? Like this was that time of COVID. Um, and we were able to at least wholesale. Thank God we didn't have to start an OnlyFans, um, but we were able to wholesale and get our and get our feet wet, get experience under our belt, and move forward from there. And not saying that moving forward from there was easy. I mean, maybe that's another podcast that I have to do of like what actually is like going after what happens after your first deals and how to grow from there, because that brings on its own challenges. But for the first deal, it's just something, my advice when doing your first deal is just to stay present. It's just to stay present, understand that yes, there are people that are out there crushing, doing 20, 30 deals a month, 5 deals a month, and they're doing great, right? But they're in a different chapter of their life. They've already been through what you're going through, right? So they've earned the right to have the success that they're having in their current businesses, right? You need to earn that right. You need to be able to do that first deal, to get that proof of concept, and for you to grow from there. If you decide that it's something that you want to do, right? Maybe when you do your first deal, you decide, hey, you know what, this isn't something I want to do. I'll probably just do something else within real estate or another business, and that's totally fine as well. But with wholesale and doing your very first deal, it's definitely just outside of the obvious monetary gain you get from it, and the joy that brings. It's absolutely just a proof of concept that that's something that can be done, and that you can do it. And I just encourage you to stay present during that moment, stay enthusiastic, listen to just as many good thoughts as you can, because if especially if you want to do wholesaling for the long term, right? You don't just want to try it out and do one deal. You want to, grow this and do multiple deals and do wholesaling full time, right? Or flipping full time, or just real estate full time. That first deal is really is what's gonna catapult you. And also it's just gonna give you the confidence to move forward and to do other things in the future, right? Like if you want to go and buy and hold, you can go and flip, you can go and buy rentals, whatever the case may be. But it is absolutely an amazing feeling when you close that first deal. And I know that I have some people that are watching that maybe have not done their first deal. And what I just want to say is just keep going. Keep going. You're so close. If you're out there, if you're out there and you're doing daily actions and you're calling every single day, you're reaching out to new people every single day, right? You're making, you're looking at properties, viewing properties every single day, and talking to homeowners every single day, you will win. You're just going to win. If you stay consistent in doing that, there's no way that you can't win, right? I mean, if you're talking to enough people every single day and looking at properties every single day, how can you lose, right? I mean, you can self-sabotage yourself, but I mean, the people that are watching this that are determined and ready to go, I mean, when opportunity strikes, they're going to go for it. I just know it. I just know it. So just stay present, stay in the moment. Understand that the period that you're going through in your life right now, this, getting your very first deal, it is a point in your life that you're going to refer back to yourself so much in the future as a true turning point in your life, and just a true just a very beautiful time. A time where you were just grinding and hustling, but it was still pleasant. Like it was still like you felt proud of yourself for a hard day's work, right? Of doing something for yourself, right? Not going out there and getting a job that you didn't have a passion for, or studying for something that you didn't have a passion for. You've stumbled upon something, and it's something that that you pursued every single day, day in, day out. You obsessed over, and through that obsession and that hard work, you were able to see the fruits of your labor. You in the future, like say if you close your first deal, you're going to look back 2 to 3 years in the future and look at the times that you had as starting off and calling or doing whatever it is that you're doing to get your very first deal. And you're going to look at those times like, man, those were amazing. Those are the best times of my life. Those are my glory days, right? Of me just hustling and just trying to get it done. And now that I've got it done, man, I'm just so proud of myself for being able to do this for me, not just for anybody, not just for someone else, right? I did this for me and my family, my people. And that's a special feeling. Anyways, guys, this has been the Real Tales podcast. If you guys are enjoying these, please drop just a comment. What else do you guys want to see? Show me what you guys want to see. I'd love to hear some feedback, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.